Well, let's get into it. I guess this is the fourth in my series of my tumultuous adventure of getting a Haas mini mill and why I chose it and all the stuff I had to go through to get to it. I guess we cut off last time. I was telling you about how you need a special code put into this machine, because this machine, you got a machine and you got a computer, and they're both hooked up together. So like any typical computer, it's a typical computer. But I just want to mention, if you are not a raw newbie to CNC or thinking about buying a mill, getting it delivered, this video is not for you. You're going to be bored with my story. So please turn it off now. Go do something else interesting. There are a couple people watching this thing, so they must be kind of in the same boat I am. They're just raw recruits. So hopefully they're getting a little bit out of my successes and missteps. Plenty of missteps. So anyway, the second technician comes. He's the real technician. When he comes, I said, look, you know, this thing's been sitting here for 2 weeks. I can't turn it on. He goes, yeah, you got to go. So he had to fool around with it a little bit to find the code on the internet. But he, after a couple of minutes, he found the code. He put it in. He said, you should be good. Yeah, I said, this is a permanent code, right? He goes, yeah, it's a permanent code. So that was that. When the first guy came to level it and check out the electricity and make sure it was mechanically functioning, I guess he was looking, making sure there was no warranty issues. He didn't really know much about the machine. I asked him some question about something to do with programming. He goes, I don't know any of that. I mean, he knew way more than I did. He knew what some of the buttons were about. He sort of knew how to change tools and stuff. But when the second guy came, now, he really knew the machine. That was, you know, his occupation. So any question I had for him, he knew it. I had been studying a little bit about the machine. Now, this is the manual they send you. This comes with the machine. And as far as I know, there are no books or manuals to tell you how to run a Haas mill. This is it. Okay? Of course, there are a lot of, well, there's a couple YouTube videos, and some of them are good, some of them are not so good, like I said before. So what you need to get started is in here, but unfortunately it's written by people who really know this machine. Now, you want this manual written by a guy like me, who tells you all the things they did wrong, and when they pushed a button this happened instead of that happened. But if you read this through a couple times and watch the videos, you start to get an idea of what to get the machine going. Unfortunately, you get to be probably less than half the book, and then you start talking about fourth axis and fifth axis. Man, that's like, you know, way over my head, plus something I'm never going to use more than likely. So there's not much basic stuff in the book. That there is some, and all in all, it's fairly well written. But you know, I wish, you know, people who are taking baby steps would like a little more hand-holding. So a couple other things I wanted to mention was they talk about using a refractometer to check the density, the dilution or whatever of your coolant. And there's not much info on that. Haas has some info on that, but they don't tell you what to buy or whatever. So apparently this machine needs a 7% or 0.7% of a coolant mixture, coolant to water. So this greasy, oily stuff, you have to keep it at a pretty good balance because there's antibacterial stuff in it and stuff like that. So if you get it too dilute, you might have a problem with bacteria, or it won't have the right kind of cutting character, lubricating characteristics for cutting. And you don't want to get it too thick either. I think it promotes bacteria, it gets expensive. I don't know. Some people do run it kind of thick though because they like a little more lubrication. So my experience was there's lots of these little refractometers on eBay and some of the machine places, machine shops. And they range in all kind of prices. I think they range all the way down to like less than $10 if I remember. But majority of them go from like 0 to 100. A lot of them go from like 0 to 30 or something. As far as I know, what you want is 0 to 10. There's not that many of them that go from 0 to 10. So it's a very small, low, tight range. And they're a little bit more. I think they're in the neighborhood of like $19. They're not going to be $10. If I remember right, you want the ones that'll work with maple syrup. Go figure. I don't know. So, I buy one of these little Japanese things, and it's very light. It's just all plastic. I only paid about 19 bucks for it. But when I get it, I look in and there's a graduated scale. It goes from 0 to 10, right? So my scale is crooked. So in other words, if you hold this thing up and you're looking at it, instead of the scale being vertical, it's like that. And I don't know, what the hell is this? Something doesn't look right, And the people saying it had a good track record, a lot of 90-some% positive or whatever. So I'm playing with it, and I'm trying to see if you could take it apart and move this scale, because I surmise that this scale came loose and it was in there. So I start jiggling a little bit, and I look at it, sure enough, it's in a different position. And I jiggle some more, it's in another different position. So basically, all you got to do is line it up and it'll probably work right? I don't know. But there's no really way to take it apart without breaking it. Well, hell, I'm not going to take it apart and glue it together. I just bought the damn thing. So they give me a little bit of runaround, but they take it back. I get my 19 bucks back. And this one is used. I think I paid like 35 bucks for it or something like that. It's very heavy. It's metal. It's not plastic. This thing is broken, and I put some tape on it. But it's 0 to 10. It seems to be working okay. So that was my experience with a refractometer. So the other thing, I trying to be anticipation. I got the coolant. Like I talked to a salesman. I said, should I have coolant ready when the thing gets here? He says, oh, it comes with coolant. But later I found out it doesn't come with coolant. You got to order it, like I talked about before. But I did that, and I had the coolant already. And you're going to need collets. Now these are Cat 30 collets, and they got two varieties. And they sent me an ad. They had two kinds of collet sets. They said, here, you're going to need collets. Order some collets. So one set of collets, the cheap brand was, I don't know, $1,000, $1,500. And then they had the good ones. They were $10,000. Excuse my heart just stopped. So I'm like, $10,000 for a set of collets. When the Chinese have got these over, I think they're like $330. So I said, screw it. I looked around, I checked. I had some good reviews, bad reviews. Most reviews on the Chinese collets were mediocre. So I got these Chinese collets. When the guy came, the technician came, I said, what do you think about these Chinese collets? He goes, and I think he's going to laugh and say, oh, you sucker. He goes, yeah, I don't know. They're okay, I guess. I said, well, what about those collets that cost $10,000? He says, well, you know, if you want this precision, if you're making, you know, parts for the space shuttle, you better get those. But from what you told me what you're going to do with them, these are a good place to start. So I got a set of the Chinese collets. This has got the edge finder in it. And it's something you should get. You should get yourself one of these edge finders. Now, you can order the Renfro Pro for $5,000 and all that, but I asked the guy, I said, what do you think about this $5,000 Renfro Pro? He goes, hey, just learn how to use this, okay? And it'll get you close. I said, okay, that's good from what I'm doing. So I got that edge finder. Speaking of which, you could use the, when you're finding the height of your tool, you could use the paper technique. And Haas has the most beautiful video, tip of the day video on how to find the height of your tool with the paper and other thing. But this thing, I forget, it was only like about $60. And it's like a micrometer, only when you come down, it'll zero out. So they had ones that are a little bit more expensive for like $100. This I think is a 2-inch model. The other one's a 3-inch model. It doesn't matter. You just got to remember to put in the offset in there. But this seemed to work pretty well. I liked it. So that did okay. Okay, you're also going to need a vise, and I have a big 6-inch vise on my manual mill. And when I was looking at it, it looked like, and you see on the Haas videos, if you put in a vise that's big, you got to make sure when this table moves, it doesn't hit the wall. Then you're going to get a crash from the handle of the vise sticking out, hitting the wall. And I could just see this table moving all over the wall. Now, like I said, after a while the machine got disabled. I couldn't use it before the guy got here. So I was worried about putting the 6-inch vise in there. So I went and bought a 4-inch vise and got that. And you're going to need a hold down kit if you don't have a hold down kit. Probably because the screws might not line up with the slots. There's only a couple slots for the T-nuts and all. So hold down kit would be a good idea if you don't have one, but you can probably get away with it, nuts and bolts somehow and washers. But a hold down kit's only like $35, $50, I don't know. So it'd be worth having one of those. But after I got the machine up and running again, I could see that the table only came so far to the front wall. So the 6-inch vise would fit on there. So if I clamped it on there, you still had a distance. But you know, check that out for yourself. So the guy gets here. I don't know what time he's coming, whatever. He's coming from about an hour, 15 minutes, an hour and a half away, maybe. So for the $1,500 for teaching, I don't know where I'm going to get it, but it's supposedly one day. What is one day? 8 hours, 7 hours? Does it include his travel time? I don't know. So he gets here like about 9:45 or so. Calls me up. He must have good GPS too. He comes right to my house. He says, "Do you live at such and such?" He says, "I'm at your front gate." I say, "Yeah, that's me. Come on in." So he comes in and he checks out the machine, does that code thing. He plays around the machine for I don't know, for a while. And then he starts, teaching me stuff like this is this is that, and but I can't remember what he's talking about, But I have my kid here, and my son's got Fusion 360 on his laptop. And my son has this wood CNC machine, wood cutter, a router, but a big one, not a little carbide or something. And he knows how to use that. He'll cut out pieces, and he uses Mach 3. And I said, can you teach me how to do it? I don't know if I can teach you. I just know how to do it. Yeah, thanks a lot. So then he went and bought a CNC plasma cutter that he uses Fusion 360 on. But he couldn't hook it up. He was lost. He had some people come in who knew CNC and help him out, and he could do that. So I think, he's halfway going to be okay. So him and the guy sit down, and I didn't even watch what they're doing because he's been playing with Fusion 360, and I guess they're doing the cam, which I'm pretty much clueless about, whatever. So the first thing we do, well, the first thing I do is we put some tools in and we get the height right. We get the offsets of the tool, we zero it and stuff like that, which I'm fairly familiar with by now. So for me playing with it before, I know when you put it in jog, you start spinning the wheel and it's going real slow, and then you click it up and it goes a little bit faster. And I'm used to playing with this string, trying to get a feel for it for a couple of days after it arrived. So I have no tool in there, not even a holder like it. And I'm just spinning this thing, moving it up, spinning it, moving around, spinning it. So I get a collet and I put a drill in it. I guess with the drill chuck. And the guy says to me, be careful spinning that thing like that. I go, yeah, I know. I mean, but I'm in a hurry, So I get the thing, and it comes down, and we touch it off, and I spin it the wrong way. Instead of going up, it goes down. And it was about a 3/8, maybe even a 1/2 inch drill. About a 1/2 inch drill, maybe a little less in there, about a 3/8 probably. And then I heard coming out of the machine, pow! It sounded just like a gunshot. Louder than a 22, a little bit less than a 38. I was around a 32 there. I went, pow! And I looked around, and the machine went down with this drill sticking out about that far. And then I looked at it, and there was only half a broken drill in there. So crashed the spindle there, and that was a valuable lesson. The other time, with just about the same size drill, we're drilling something that my son had put in a program, and it comes down and it gave a bang. And I looked at it, it was a broken drill. And he says to me, what happened? And I don't know, I just knew right away. I said, you had your feed too fast. Either your RPM was too slow or your feed was too fast. So he gets on a computer, he goes, yeah, you're right. The feed was double what it should have been. So it tried to push the drill into the aluminum, and it wasn't spinning fast enough, or the feed was too fast, and it broke the drill. Didn't go pow, but it made a noise. Okay, time out. We interrupt this YouTube with another important message. So picture this, the first technician leaves. Now I'm allowed to play with the machine. The the packing collar that holds the spindle is off now, and I didn't take that off, by the way. It comes with this collar, because the only way you get the collar off is to turn the machine on, pull the spindle up, and there's a bolt down there, and you can take it off. So I didn't touch the machine like that. I only got the electricity and everything else ready, the air ready. So now I'm trying to get familiar with the machine. I'm trying to do some homework, but I'm too afraid to do any G-code or anything like that. But I want to get familiar with how the spindle works. So when the guy leaves, I come back again and turn the machine on, and I can't get the spindle to move. Okay? It won't move. And the way you move the spindle, other than the computer, is with this jog wheel. You put an X and you turn it, and it moves in the X direction. You put it in Y, and I think I could get it to move in Z, but I couldn't get it to move in X and Y. And I'd be going, and I'd turn it off and reboot it and this and that, and come back another day, and then like another time I could get it to move in the Y direction, but not the X. I don't know. So I go through this a bunch of times trying to figure out what's going on. Why is the machine broken? So I call up the guy, and I tried pulling the door like that, didn't do anything. I called the guy, I said, look, this machine, I can't figure it out. I don't know if it's broke or what. He said, did you try recycling the door? Well, in this machine, as far as I know, you don't do that. But some machines you do. So I pulled the door open and closed, and I spun the knob, and then the spindle moved. I said, oh yeah, okay, that's it. So naturally, a couple more days go by, and I'm trying to do it, and open it, and ain't doing anything. The problem is, and this is why you should have these manuals written by people who start from dead scratch. The problem is that this spindle point, the start point, is at 0, 0, 0. Okay? So it's X0, Y0, Z0. And everything like after that is negative. So when you put the thing down, you're going in negative Z. And the same thing for like X and I guess Y. Well, when I come out there and I start turning the knob, I'm turning the knob like this. Well, I'm going in the positive direction. Well, it's already at the most positive it could be. So I push X and I spin the knob and it doesn't move. So I push Y. I spin the knob, it doesn't move. And then, you know, I'm not a dumb guy, but maybe I'm a little slow. But I finally figure out what's going on. And this is just some basic stuff. And that's kind of how I got into spinning these knobs, you know. I'd be spinning them and nothing happened. So I kind of think, well, it's no big deal to spin these knobs. If there's a tool in there and you're near the workspace, you got a problem. Because if you spin that knob and it goes to the maximum, nothing happens. And I don't remember ever hurting the machine. I only know you spin the knob and you go to the maximum and it stops. But very definitely I learned if it's at 0, 0, 0 and you spin it in a positive direction and try and get it to go up, it doesn't do anything. So that was my great introduction to CNC milling. So I said, look, the main thing I want to know is, can you come up with an idea in your head, go into Fusion 360, put it at the machine, and this thing's going to knock it out. And the technician says, of course. I says, good, show me. Because I halfway don't believe it. You know, I said, I got to see this thing for myself. But anyway, the first thing we do, we got the big, I got a big facing mill come with this kit. It's I think it's a 2-inch mill with like 6 index cutters in it. And we put this in and surfaced this off. That was real good. So I think one of the next things we did was we milled out. Like I said, let me see. I guess we milled out some round stuff. I said, let me see if we make this thing, if we can make a square. So my son programmed, and I said, now just bring the drill right up close enough so it'll just touch the thing. But he did it the wrong way. He put the drill on the outside, not on the inside. But the concept was kind of proven. So we did essentially make a square hole. So I'm like, okay, that's good. Then I guess we milled this off with an end mill cutter. Now, maybe I mentioned before, I have got a box full of mills. I've got mills, a couple reamers, and a lot of taps. But all of them came from the flea market, except the real small ones that I use for making folding knives. So I bought some, like 440 taps and some, maybe 1/4-inch mills and smaller new. All the rest of this stuff I got from flea markets. So some of it was in bad shape. Some of them looked really good shape. Some of them had been resharpened, and there might be a few new ones in the box anyway. But I load up a steel, I think a steel mill, and we face this off, and it looked pretty good. And then he said, okay, I said, at least make me a groove. Okay, the thing could face. I want to see, put some Infusion 360, I want to make a groove. So he puts in like a groove. I said, no. Straight's good, but I want something serpentine here. Let me see it. Let me see if it'll do something serpentine. So he's okay. So they did this one. And I said, okay, well that's pretty good. That was with a ball end mill. Believe carbide. I'm pretty sure that was carbide because I take it back. I did buy some resharpened carbide bits to use this. So this is one of the resharpened carbide ball end mills that I got off eBay. I bought like 5 of those. And they're kind of long. And then they made this pocket. And this pocket looks terrible. I said, what in the hell? Why is this so non-uniform or whatever? And he said, well, I think your bit was too long and it flexed. I'm like, okay, if it flexed and it came out that terrible, that is just crap. But okay, maybe that's the problem. So the next thing we did was tap this hole. And this is it's about a 3/8 tap. And I got this tap. It didn't look too bad, but I said, okay, I have broken so many taps in my life. I'm just with the tap wrench, and I'm a little bit here, back, a little bit there, back, cutting oil, going. And the damn thing still breaks, even aluminum, I'm breaking. So, and this thing I bought with rigid tapping. So I said, okay, I've already broken one drill. My son broke a drill. I can't wait to see this tap break. This is going to go down there, and it's going to break, and that's it. So the technician figures it up, comes up, and this tap just goes right down and right up. I mean, as they say in the South, let me see if I get the accent right, it's slicker than snot in the brass doorknob. It just went right down, right back. So I was impressed. I said, wow, this thing can tap. So the other thing, so we got this 2-inch facing mill, and you can see these 2-inch marks stuck in the vise. And it's funny, like this is smooth as a baby's ass here, these cuts. But as it got out and it was not supported in the vice jaw, you can start to see this vibration. And there's a little bit of vibration here, and it just gets worse and worse as it goes out. So it goes to show you got to have your work supported. Now the final thing, I said, okay, cut another one of those milled out areas. Let me see you route out something. So they figured, I said, no, wait a minute. I don't want any more stuff with flat bottom. I want to see this thing do a contour. They go, okay, no problem. So they put some contour in it. And you can probably see that this comes here, it goes down, it comes back up and goes down again. And when they did that with Fusion 360, and of course they put it on a thumb drive, we stuck the thumb drive in there, he finds the program, puts it in. I said, okay. Now I know I've got a machine. Now I know, all I got to know is learn how to use the damn thing. So I was kind of pleased for the moment. As a newbie, I've got to turn myself into an intermediate expert. I don't know. Maybe I'll get there someday. But it's going to take a lot of work. So that's been my experience. I think I'm going to quit the video for now, but if I make a lot of discoveries on how to use this thing and I think they're worth sharing, I certainly want to make another video to help anybody out who's taking baby steps like me. When I went to high school, we had classes on how to use a slide rule. Okay? Kids these days can learn CNC in high school. You don't even have to go to trade school. So it's a new trick, and I'm an old dog, but I do find it fascinating. Because it's fascinating, it's fun. And I wish you guys a lot of luck. If there's anything else I could help you with, I hope some of you guys who are learning these little baby steps come out with some videos and share that, and hopefully I can pick it up a lot faster. Okay, thanks for watching.